Hello everyone, this is Victor from kaizenpoker.com, and in this lecture I'm going to tell you about some profitable poker situations that you should learn well for consistently profiting in the live cash games as well as online. So this is a chapter from my book How to Crush Texas No Limit Hold'em Games. So the first example is of dominating hands. You see, you are tight player and your starting range is much, better than other players. Your opponent may have something like King Queen or King Jack, and you are having a hand like KK. So you are absolutely dominating him. As you can see in this video, you are having about 92.8% equity, and these are the kind of situations you want to be in when you're playing poker. And this is just a sure shot win for you. And if you keep playing and keep putting yourself in these kind of situations, you are going to be quite ahead in your cash game sessions. Then the next situation is like you have flopped a set and other player has a overpair on the board, and with aces he's most likely to donate all the money to you. So this shows like how much equity you have, and your opponent is willing to give all the money to you with such poor odds. So your goal as a poker player is to put yourself in situations where you are most likely to win and you have the maximum uh, chances of winning. So that's why I'm again emphasizing be tight, don't go for fancy plays, and play with a deep stack and put yourself in these kind of situations, and you will profit immensely. Then set versus top pair. So let us again assume like you hit a set, another person just has a top pair. You see how much you are dominating him. Your opponent may think like he is good enough, but actually he's just having less than 2% chance of winning. So a lot of people play AK wrong in a cash game. Your goal is to exploit other players' weaknesses and profit from their mistakes, not to go overboard with your hands. If you have a hand like AK in a tournament, it makes sense to push all in when uh, your M ratio is much less than you know 12, or maybe your M ratio is 10. But that's totally separate. In a cash game you should basically not push all in. Okay, with a player who is playing randomly is still having 34% equity even against a hand like AK suited and AK, as you can see in this screenshot. But if you compare AK with aces, you are having very poor equity. So if you push your ace king suited and your opponent has aces, so you are very much behind. Then two pair versus top pair, as you can see, uh, like if you're having ace king, you flop the top pair, other person hits two pair, again you have less than 30% equity. Always try to put your opponent on a range of hand that could hold based on the line he has taken so far. So if you're doing that, if you are like keeping track of what range he could hold, like what hand you're representing, that's the way to play poker. And you have to control the size of the pot. If you just have one pair, build a very small pot. So like you can see another example of two pair with top pair, top kicker. So again, like if the other person flops two pair, then you are crushed. So these, why I'm showing you this is so that you can understand like where most of the winnings will come to you. Like I showed you how with set you're so much far ahead, and when like you have a locked hand and your opponent is having a weak hand, like one pair, two pair. So those are the situations, that will make you a lot of money. And if you avoid these kind of situations, like see top pair, top kicker kind of hand, you build a big pot and then lose in the end. So that way you are losing too much money, and then you will either be break even at after some months or maybe year, or you may lose a lot of money. Okay, so here like aces versus a flush draw, you can see a flush draw still has over 30% equity. So if you're against a very loose player and he likes to gamble, and uh, he plays on hunches, okay, that his flush draw is going to get completed. So you have to be aware of those kind of people, and not increase your variance. If you just have say $1,000 left with you, and you have like your entire stack at the table, which you should never have, then you must never push all in holding aces on such a kind of board. And you can see like jack of club, queen of club, nine of diamond, it's a very wet board. If the board was dry and your opponent wasn't showing much strength, you could build a decent pot then probably. So again, like you see like if your opponent has continued with his flush draw on the turn, then like you still are ahead. But on wet boards you don't know whether he has completed or not, because uh, like if the turn comes such a card that is completing some draws, then you have to slow down with one pair, two pair kind of hand. So this again I'm telling you so that you can be aware of such kind of situations and not put not increase your variance at the end of the day. Then like again, if you're having top pair, and other person has a second pair, he's far much behind. And you can compute this in poker too. Most of the time you'll be playing blind, you don't know what the other person has. You have to put him on a range of hands, and then like you can think about what equity you will have against his range. For example, he has been under the gun, and he has made a pre-flop raise, and you're having a hand like pocket fives. So you have to imagine like his range, what his range looks like, like ace king or ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, or some top ace or top kind of pair. So that way you should play. So these are again some suggestions, like gut shot plus pair versus top pair on the flop. So again, like if a person has over pair, like on a dry board, he's far much, ahead. Then like aces can always, lose a lot of money to you. So you have to be basically, wary of playing aces. Then like these are again some situations, that I'm showing to you. So my idea of showing to you is that get Poker's tool, which is one of the best tool you can get. Play with it. Like I have just computed some kind of situations. Try to imagine some situations like I have done, and click on evaluate, and it will show you like equity of that particular hand or range. You can put either a range in player 1, player 2, player 3, or you can just put exact cards. You can even put board here. So again, like say if you have an overpair like kings, the other person has you know, something like queens, then you are far much ahead. Like a person who has queens has, just 18% equity, about 18% equity in the hand. So that's why I have emphasized before that, if you have a pair that's below aces and kings, just slow play it. If you get a set, then you are far much ahead. And if like an over card comes on the board, just go very slow and just fold it if the other person shows aggression. Okay, so like the more you use poker stove, the better your skill would be. And daily, like figure out 10-15 situations. In earlier days, what people used to do is, they would deal cards themselves, and they would simulate card situations so many times. They would play against themselves, and that's how Doyle Brunson mentioned in his book, that thousands of times he would, simulate, strategize, and Poker Stove makes it so easy for players, to become so much ahead in odds. And if you do this daily, then like after say 3 months, 6 months, you'll be an expert. Okay, thanks for listening.